rarely painted in my life. I'm very not a painting kind of gal. Yeah, we didn't have to study painting in cartooning school. Hi, I'm Sasha Velour, and PopBuzz have asked me to do portrait mode. So the photo that I am painting today is a picture of me and my dog, Vanya Velour. Oh, I'm so excited to give this a shot. I am always at my happiest when I am deep working on some artwork. So that can be like on stage, performing my heart out. When I perform, like all sense of time falls away. I can be in excruciating pain, like my shoes and corset tearing me up, and I don't even notice. I just feel on top of the world. I'm sensitive, which has like good and bad qualities. Like when I was a little kid, teachers would always tell me I was oversensitive when I was like under the table crying about Lord knows what. But I think it means I put thought into how other people are going to hear and understand things, and I try to be thoughtful about other people's feelings. I'm still very much the same person I was as a little kid. That little kid loved just like expressing themselves, dressing up in wild, like vampiric or high femme fashions, and I'm still doing that today. One of my first looks as a child involved a tea cozy that my mom used for formal like parties with her girlfriends, and I thought it made like the most gorgeous hat. So I'd balance the tea cozy on my head and would wrap myself in like a tablecloth. It was the 90s, so floral prints were in. In high school, there wasn't anyone else who looked or acted or dressed like me, but I still found ways to fit in, even though I didn't necessarily find a sense of normalcy as a child for myself. The little kid that I was very scared, and that's the thing that I've tried to just completely get rid of. There's still a little bit more that I want to do, but I've learned that life is much too short to be too frightened to share yourself or your visions with the world. Sometimes I feel like I'm going to be overcome with fear at any moment. I just performed for the largest audience of my life in Vancouver last fall. I felt like my legs were going to tremble so much they were going to fly off my body. And then as soon as I stepped on stage, it was like all that practice kicked in, and I knew exactly what I was doing. On Drag Race, I was afraid sometimes backstage before I stepped on, and then when you get in front of the cameras, in front of the audience, in front of your heroes, you have no choice but to just go full ham. Drag has transformed my life in kind of every respect. Drag has brought so many amazing creative people into my life that I wouldn't have met before. So I've found like the most talented people in the world all through clubs, many of whom are dressed up in drag when I meet them. And then of course, in my personal life, my partner Johnny and I, right from the moment that we started dating, really, we started producing drag shows together. And I think that's defined so much of my adult life, is getting to share drag with the person I love most in this world. Biggest inspirations for the Smoke and Mirrors tour has to be the music itself. I lip-sync to some amazing artists in Smoke and Mirrors: Judy Garland, Dame Shirley Bassey, of course, my absolute all-time favorite. I love picking something that people have heard before, because then with the performance I can play off of the lyrics that people already know, I can play off of people's assumptions about what the song is about, and then transform it into something new. The hardest thing about being a drag artist is, you know, it's pretty great, I gotta say. But there are certain challenges. It's a very unregulated industry, so finding like equal and respectful pay for many drag performers is a really, really big issue. I always try to work in spaces where other drag artists are getting treated appropriately. And finding spaces where that is possible is really, really challenging. My favorite drag queens of all time, number one has to be Lip-Synca. She absolutely transformed what a drag performance was in the 80s and 90s in New York. The reason that people put spoken word in their lip syncs is because of Lip-Synca, and If I can have even like half that legacy as a drag performer, I would feel so proud. Sylvia Rivera and Marsha P. Johnson, trans drag performers who led the Stonewall riot. Unless they weren't there, no one quite knows what happened that night, but they definitely led the activist uprising that followed and transformed the early gay rights movement into an intersectional queer activist alliance, which we still need to learn lessons from. Divine and RuPaul and Julian Eltinge and performers who have been able to cross into the mainstream, giving little kids like me someone a little queer to look up to. The hardest part of drag is literally getting started. Finding a family, finding a community, finding a stage. So the sooner you get going and actually like make those opportunities open up for yourself, the faster you're gonna find your art and your drag. One can overcome a broken heart by throwing oneself on the ground and wailing. I think it's important to get the feelings out there into the world somehow, and that's why I love drag, because it is a reasonable place to act like a mess and then transform it into something that actually makes sense and inspires you to get up and keep looking powerful and in charge. I've gotten many broken hearts worked out on the drag stage. Life is too short. Make change, because change is definitely possible. Just go out and make something with your life. I'm the harshest critic of my own drag. Like, no one has ever said anything as harsh to me as I've said to myself. At the end of the day, if I can find confidence and strength in what I'm doing, then I know I'm strong enough to put it out into the world. Being exposed to people's opinion on my work is hilarious. When they shared a picture of me on Twitter, a bunch of right-wing conservatives thought I was some kind of alien coming to disrupt the American political system. And all the queer people that I know were like, thank God, it's about time. So sometimes what people think is an insult is actually the compliment you've been waiting your whole life for. And that's what makes it so fun. When I started drag, I was focused on creating stuff myself. So I didn't necessarily go out and immerse myself in like the nightlife culture. I never really got to enjoy drag as like a party phenomenon. And then so quickly, I became a real professional drag queen, and there is definitely no more time for parties. So I think, I definitely have no regrets about my life, but if I would go back, I would go out and get drunk a little more. Are you ready? That's okay, right? There's no details. And we didn't have these colors, so I had to improvise. Vanya's facial expression, I think I captured perfectly. Thank you!